What is going on, guys? It is your boy Kazak here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about some JRPGs I've been playing lately from my backlog, and give you guys my perspective on whether or not some of these games are actually worth trying out. I made a previous video on this same topic, and you guys really enjoyed it, so I figured why not do another one, and you guys will enjoy it. So yeah, I think we should probably get started and see what we have in here. One game that I've been playing very recently is Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. Now, I will say that I have never really been the biggest Digimon fan growing up. Like, I've always watched some of the animes and stuff here and there, but I never really became too invested into the franchise as a whole, especially since around the time when it was still kind of popping. I was always more of a Pokemon fan, and that took over a good portion of my childhood and stuff until I got burnt out by Ultra Sun and Moon. But I remember like a couple of years or so back. I think this is back in like 2022 or 2023, where I was at a local game store and I was looking for some good cheap games to buy, and I found Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth for the PlayStation 4. And I was like, okay, let me check out this game. I never really played any Digimon games before this one, so I was like, okay, let me give this one a shot. And I played it, beat it, and I actually enjoyed this game a lot. This is a very solid title and definitely worth playing in my personal opinion. Now, here is the thing about this game. A lot of people will assume that because of the fact that Digimon has always kind of been like that lesser known monster capturing kind of franchise, this game would be pretty similar to Pokemon. But this game is nothing like Pokemon at all, and I'll explain why. First off, this game is very story heavy. You basically play as a young detective, and you're basically going around exploring the city and this digital world called Eden, where there's these weird phenomenons going on, and it's affecting the real world and everything, and you got to go and find out what's going on. Sometimes it's caused by the Digimons, and other times it's caused by a whole bunch of other weird nonsense that happens in the game. I'm not going to spoil too much of it, but it is pretty entertaining. And I also like a lot of the characters as well. They are very, very funny. They have some pretty cool dialogue that's like really entertaining and just outright funny. And yeah, they're pretty fun. It's a fun cast of characters. Now, when it comes to the gameplay, it's very different from Pokemon in the sense that in the Pokemon games, you have Pokemon kind of feels a little bit more open in the sense that you can go around, travel through the different regions, and explore and find Pokemons, gather items, battle against rivals, and all that stuff. Digimon Cyber Sleuth takes a little bit of a much different approach here, where you still do some of that stuff, but the exploration is extremely limited. This is one of those type of RPGs where you're going to be constantly doing a lot of backtracking. You're going back and forth between the exact same areas throughout the game. Obviously, you unlock new areas as you progress further into the game, but you're generally just going to be doing the same old each and every time, and it's kind of a rinse and repeat formula that can feel pretty repetitive. So generally, you'll take like a quest or whatever, you'll go to a certain destination, you fight that Digimon or whatever is causing the issue, and then you go back into the detective case or the detective home and complete the mission, and then some story beats happen, and then you basically do the exact same thing over and over again. And yeah, it has a very repetitive structure. Now, when it comes to Digimons, however, which are basically the main appeal of the game essentially, there is a lot more work that goes into these Digimons. In Pokemon games, you normally would just have to level up your Pokemons. Sometimes you just do it naturally by fighting them. Sometimes you need an item, or you do it simply just by spending time with your Pokemons, and they naturally just evolve. But in Digimon, the requirements to digivolve your Digimons is a lot more complicated than that. You have to do a lot of busy work in order for them to become the Digimons that you want them to be. So for example, some of them will have a lot of stronger and great cool looking evolutions, but they have to fulfill a certain requirement before they can even evolve. And a lot of times it could be a little bit complicated. Sometimes it has to be about this Digimon needs like a certain number of stats. It needs to have, let's say, like 40 speed. It needs to have 40 plus strength or this level of agility or whatever the case might be. And there's a lot of work. Sometimes you're not able to just level up your Digimons just by leveling them up. You have to raise up their stats as well, which is where like the whole Digi Farm thing comes in, where it plays like a little bit of a Tamagotchi thing, very light Tamagotchi, where you take your Digimons into the farm, you train them up, you can have them do different stuff too, like develop items or search for brand new side quests or cases and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. But there's a lot of complexity here when it comes to Digimons. It's not as simple as you would think it is. There's actually a lot that goes into making some of your best Digimons, and it is a lot to think about at first. But when you're playing through the game and you actually understand the mechanics, it's actually not that bad. But I'm just telling you guys, if you're expecting anything like a Pokemon, it's not. It's definitely not like that. This is more of a grindy type of experience where a lot of your time is going to be dedicated to making your Digimons and making your best party builds and all that stuff. And that's the kind of gameplay flow that this game has. Then there's also Hacker's Memories, which is the sequel game to Cyber Sleuth. But honestly, I'm not going to go too in depth about that game because, to be honest, it's essentially just the 1.5 version of Cyber Sleuth. It's basically you doing more of the same. There's more Digimons, there's different characters and a different storyline, and it's essentially just more of the exact same. And that's pretty much it, with some little bits of differences here and there, but nothing too major. So yeah, if you want to pick up these games, I would definitely recommend picking them up on your PlayStation or the Nintendo Switch. I think these are very fun games that, if you don't mind the little bit of the repetitive gameplay loop and you enjoyed the story and you like the characters, or you simply just like to find like a cool little monster capturing type of game that's not just Pokemon, then I would recommend picking this up. In fact, I think it's a pretty underrated title. And yeah, it's just a solid game all around. So if you ever get bored, or if there's any JRPGs that you just want to try out just for the sake of it, I would definitely recommend the Cyber Sleuth games. And I'm also looking forward to the new game as well, which looks really good too. Now, this one should not be a surprise to anybody who's been following my channel, but the next game that I've been playing a lot of recently is the Suikoden HD Remasters. Man, oh man, oh man. I've been waiting for this day when we actually get to have all the Suikoden games. Well, not all of them, Suikoden 1 and 2 specifically. It's just crazy to see that these great classic JRPGs are finally back on modern systems and where we can actually play them this time around. And I wanted to go a little bit in depth about why I love these games so much. The thing that makes Suikoden feel really unique, in my opinion, is the fact that you have so many large cast of characters. Like within each and every game, you always have 108 different party members that you can find and look for and to interact with. And it's such a cool idea that you have such a large army that you essentially have to assemble yourself. It makes each encounter feel really interesting, and you're just kind of left wondering, okay, who is the next person I'm going to encounter next? And like, oh, who is this really cool character? I want to figure out how to recruit them and stuff. There's this really cool element of mystery there where you want to see more, you want to explore, you want to find out more and how to get these people in your party. It's really cool, man. It honestly is. You can also recruit some of these characters to join you in battle. And when you're going into battles, there's 6 party members. That's right, you can have up to 6 characters in the battlefield, which makes it a really good way to take advantage of some of the characters that can actually be playable fighters. And there's a lot of experimentation there. There's some different things you can do, like using different runes for certain characters. You can do team attacks if you have the right characters on the team. It's just really satisfying. It's simple, but it's pretty darn fun, man. I really enjoy Suikoden's combat system, and it feels like the perfect comfort battle system, in my opinion, where you don't have to really do a whole lot. It's just about the fun aspect of it. It's just about picking the characters that you like the most, making sure they have the best equipments and abilities that they possibly can, and just having at it, just fighting through encounters, beating through the bosses, fighting more characters and then trying them out as well. It's really, really freaking sick, in my opinion. And I appreciate that element of Suikoden, where there's like a very simple pick up and play nature behind the games, at least when it comes to the first two games, because as you play through some of the later Suikoden games, that kind of changes a little bit. But with these games in particular, I think that is something that really adds to their charm a whole lot. It also helps that the collection adds some pretty neat little changes here and there. For example, in Suikoden 2, there's an event timer. And for those of you guys who don't know why the event timer is there, there's a certain side quest in the game where it's very time sensitive. And you essentially have to beat the game within 15 hours in order to see and do the entire side quest, which for some people were not a fan of that, and some people didn't mind it, especially if you knew what to do. But I really appreciate the fact that Konami took the time to give you an event timer, so that way you could turn it off and be able to do the side quests at any point throughout the game and not have to just rush through it, so that way you can experience it. You can just go on ahead and play through the game naturally and not have that added on pressure. And I really think that was a good call on their part. There's also battle speeds. You can increase the battle speed up to like 3 times, so you can make the already fast battles even faster if you don't feel like doing unnecessary grinding or whatever. There is one thing though I do kind of wish they added, and this is really related to Suikoden 1. So for those of you guys who don't know, Suikoden 1 had a really clunky and just a weird inventory system where each and every character had their own inventory system. And you kind of had to go back and forth with them to add different equipments, to add items onto them. And the whole process just felt extremely, extremely clunky. And it is a little bit unfortunate to say that they did not change that here with the remaster, which is kind of odd because I don't think if they did change it, people would be mad at that necessarily. I think people would greatly appreciate it if the game had a more structured item list and item system where you can easily just put equipments on the characters and stuff and then just call it a day, just like how Suikoden 2 was, where the inventory was greatly improved and adding all that stuff to your characters was pretty easy. It was very simple. But I'm assuming they probably just did this just because they didn't want to stray too far from the game's original feel, like in the original PS1/Sega Saturn versions. Maybe that's probably the reason why they just wanted to make the game feel a little bit authentic. But I just feel like this is one of those design choices where this could have definitely been improved upon. I don't think anybody will really miss this at all if they did improve it. But that's just my personal opinion. Outside of that, though, I think that the Suikoden HD remasters are just absolutely phenomenal JRPGs that you really need to pick up and play if you have not played a single Suikoden game. If you're going to play any of them, you definitely got to pick up this collection with the first 2 games, especially since once you beat the first game, you can actually carry your save data onto the second game. Now, I'm not going to tell you what that does or why you should do it, but when you do, you'll be very, very happy that you did. So yeah, I love this collection. It's honestly probably my favorite game that I played all this year, which I know that might seem a little bit odd considering that it's just a remaster, but I just had so much fun with this collection. And I just love going down memory lane, playing through some of my favorite JRPGs of all times. So I just hope that Konami will follow suit and make a Suikoden 3, 4, and 5 remasters, so that way we can have all the games on all the modern platforms. I think that would be really cool, and hopefully that is something that they will do at some point in the future. But yeah, as I said before, if you haven't played these games before and you're looking for some great JRPG goodness, man, go on ahead and pick up that Suikoden, man. It is a absolutely phenomenal collection. So this one might be a little bit unexpected, especially since I haven't talked about this particular franchise on my channel that much, and that is Dragon Quest. To be honest with you guys, I have played some Dragon Quest games here and there. I started off my first game with DQ11, which I enjoyed. I thought it was a pretty decent time, but I wasn't really the biggest fan of it because of some of the things that happened later on in the story, more specifically the post-game stuff. I'm not going to spoil anything that happens in the post-game story, but all you need to know was that I didn't really like it, and it kind of just lowered my experience of the game a little bit because of what happened in the story. But I decided to go back and play some of the later Dragon Quest games, older ones more specifically, which is Dragon Quest IV. I enjoyed that game a lot. I played the DS version, which unfortunately didn't have the party system where characters would interact with each other and stuff. But I still enjoyed the game overall, and I thought it was pretty fun. But that's not the one that I'm talking about right now. The one I'm talking about now, and I think a lot of you guys are definitely going to be happy to hear this, but I recently just started to play Dragon Quest V. This is the game that I've seen a lot of Dragon Quest fans go crazy over. This is the game that I've seen so many people recommend to people who have never played Dragon Quest before, and I see why. I mean, this game is really freaking solid. It has a pretty fun combat system, even though it's not too different from all the other Dragon Quest games. It's still fun, especially with the monster capturing system where you could capture monsters and you recruit them onto your party. And then if that wasn't good enough, you also have some waifus in the game that you could marry as well, which is why the game is called Hand of the Heavenly Bride, because you can choose your waifus, which I think is a pretty cool mechanic if you ask me. But no, I'm really enjoying my time with Dragon Quest V. It's such a unique game. It really is. And it feels different from a lot of the other Dragon Quest games I played before, especially when you experience the story. Ooh, the story can be very hard hitting at times. I was actually shocked because usually when I played through some of the other Dragon Quest games, the stories were never really that impressive to me. But when I played this game in particular, I was actually kind of shocked to see how good the story actually is. It kind of tugs at your heartstrings a little bit. So I'm really happy to be going through this game. I'm having a great time with it. And hopefully, once they do the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 remakes, hopefully they'll move on with the Zenithian trilogy, which is Dragon Quest 4, 5, and 6. And hopefully we can get those games remastered or remade specifically. I mean, imagine seeing a Dragon Quest V with HD 2D pixel art with new improved gameplay mechanics and fully explorable, adding in even some new content in there too. I think that would be pretty awesome, and I would most definitely buy it day one if they made it happen. So I don't know what. So Square Enix, I don't know what y'all doing, man. Y'all gotta pick up the slack when it comes to this Dragon Quest. If they do a Dragon Quest V remake, you can bet that I'm gonna get my hands on this without a doubt. So yeah, I wanted to throw Dragon Quest in here because honestly, this is not a franchise I talk about too much on the channel, mainly because I don't have that much experience with it. But I just wanted to come on here and say that, hey, I'm playing a Dragon Quest game and it's pretty darn cool. So I'm very, very happy to say that I'm enjoying my time with this one. And I also want you guys to let me know which other Dragon Quest games should I play. Should I play like Dragon Quest 8? Should I play Dragon Quest 9? Let me know what other games I should play after 5. I'm very, very curious to see what you guys say. Last but certainly not least, we have Tales of the Abyss. In case you guys didn't know, I am a massive Tales fan. I've been playing the franchise for a very long time, and I just love the franchise, so I figured why not give it a little bit more love on this video. I feel like it doesn't get the praise and respect that it does in the JRPG space, so you know, I gotta show a little bit of rep here. So when it comes to Tales of the Abyss, I never really played this game all that much. Like, don't get me wrong, I had played this game back on the PlayStation 2 era when my brothers and my friend and his friends played it, but I never really had too much memory with this game, which is why I was kind of curious to go back and replay it. And I have to say, I enjoyed my time with Tales of the Abyss. This is a pretty solid game. It has a pretty fun combat system. The characters are pretty likable for the most part, and the story is pretty solid too. There's a lot of world building that goes on within this game, and I think a lot of people will appreciate that aspect of Abyss because there's just so much unique story stuff that happens here that it really kind of makes you feel for some of the characters, and it also kind of makes you invested into what's going on with the world itself. Now, I will say there are two cons I do have with the game, and some people may disagree with it, which is perfectly fine. But one of them that I had is the exposition dumping. This game loves to just throw around a lot of important information at you, and because it's so much stuff that they're trying to tell you, sometimes it can feel a little bit confusing, or you just don't get enough time to really understand what it is that they're actually trying to say and the story elements that actually plays into all that stuff. Sometimes it could be a little too much, and I kind of wish that the game found a way to sort of pace itself a little bit when it comes to just dumping all this important story stuff at you. And another thing that also kind of bothered me a little bit as well is that the game also has quite a bit of backtracking as well. So sometimes you definitely go back and forth quite a bit, especially in like some of the later parts of the game where you're just going back and forth and all that stuff. Now, granted, it's not really as bad as say like Digimon Cyber Sleuth is, where you're always going back and forth. But in Abyss, there are going to be times where you do a little bit of that, and sometimes that can bog down the experience a little bit. But it's not really a big deal because at least the game does give you a lot more side content to do and find like items and new titles and all that good stuff. So it's not like the worst thing ever. It's just something that I feel like is worth noting if you are going to go into Tales of the Abyss. Overall, though, Tales of the Abyss is a pretty solid Tales title, and it's definitely one of the more beloved entries in the franchise. Some people would go as far as to say that it's better than Tales of Vesperia, which in my opinion, I don't think it is. Primarily because of the fact that I simply just enjoy the characters and their chemistry more in Vesperia than I do in Abyss. I think Vesperia just has way more interesting characters in terms of their personalities and how they interact with each other. It's just far more entertaining than a lot of the things I see in Abyss. Now, that's not to say that Abyss has bad characters or not many good like character interactions and stuff like that. Definitely not, because one of the best things about a Tales game is the characters and how they interact with each other and their stories and stuff. But I'm just saying here, if I had to pick between the two of them, Vesperia is definitely the favorite for me personally, especially when it comes to the gameplay and the combat and the exploration and everything else. Vesperia just feels like a much bigger and completed package compared to Abyss, which might be a little bit unfair considering that it did come after Abyss, but I'm just saying that's just my personal opinion on that. Now, I did hear that this game could potentially be the next Tales game that Bandai Namco will potentially remaster, and I wouldn't be mad if they do remaster this game, since I do think it is pretty solid, and I wouldn't mind picking it up. I wouldn't mind buying this on my Nintendo Switch and having fun with the game, but I still would be disappointed because they still will not give Xillia any attention or love. And I will keep on repping Tales of Xillia for as long as I possibly can until they bring out that darn collection with both of the games in there. Hopefully they do both Xillia 1 and 2 and not separate, because that would just be incredibly insane if they didn't. But no, that's enough about that talk. I'm just hoping that Abyss, if it does get ported, hopefully it does turn out to be pretty good. Make the game 60 FPS, bring in some nice little quality of life adjustments to it and all that stuff. And yeah, it'll be pretty interesting to see this game come out. It wouldn't be my preferred game necessarily, but I wouldn't be too mad at it either. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on that front. So there you have it, guys. These are just all the games I've been playing recently and kind of give you guys a little bit of my 2 cents on. You guys can let me know in the comment section what type of JRPGs you guys are jumping into and playing, and whether or not I should also play them as well. Feel free to just share your experiences and stuff. I think it would be pretty interesting to see what you guys have to say. So yeah, with all that said, this is your boy Kazak, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.